working for the man, and this is another reason why I left, they pay you to forget your dreams. I want to make each buyer's experience one they will never forget. I went into credit repair. It opened up so many doors for me. A lot of people think saving money is by pulling it out of that chest or that cabinet or that safe you got in your room up under the bed, and that's not the type of money that the government want to see.
I got that feeling when you know you made it, and you can travel city to celebrate it. Champagne, make a toast to the finer things, and I want it all, I'ma get it, cause I can feel it. I'm doing things you can only imagine, spinning sprees, anxiety with me, constantly traveling, so let's make a toast to success.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is in your neck of the woods tuning in with us today. Welcome to another edition of the Stateline Road Podcast, where conversations and connections just like these can create the change that you want. My name is Keedron Henderson, aka Coach K, the Mayor, and I'm here with two of our other hosts today. It's going to be Robert Davis, aka Cohaven, right here to my left, and then to my right over here, we got Marvin Clark, aka MJ. These guys are two entrepreneurs in their own right. They're servant leaders. They're moguls in their own right. Let me just say it that way. And today joining us, we have a mogul from the female perspective. Our first female guest, Latonya McGowen. She's a real estate mogul, an investment mogul. Right here where we can touch her in DeSoto County, Mississippi. She's going to drop some jewels today. We're going to have some fun conversation. Welcome.
Glad to be here.
Thank you for coming through.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so look, we're going to go from 0 to 100 just real quick, because you are the first female that we've had on the Stateline Road Podcast.
Yeah, that's why I got this little town.
Yeah, we had to get a little
spiffy.
Yeah, a little spiffy.
We normally gold chain and,
Yeah.
So,
like we got, look, and it's a 3-piece suit.
right.
No, much respect. For sure.
I just want to jump in real quick and just and ask you this, because I recently saw a report that revealed a striking statistic relative to a major decline in Black women in the American workforce. And it showed that despite being among the most educated demographic of eligible professionals, there is a negative disparity in opportunities by the sheer numbers. I mean, sisters are the most educated demographic in the workforce, yet when it comes to, especially among the ranks of executive positions, there's a disparity there. Now, conversely, I saw another report that showed a significant growth in Black women entrepreneurs in the United States. So I'm just interested to know, just jump right in. What are your thoughts on that? Was that motivation, inspiration for you? Were you frustrated in corporate America? Was it just totally financially driven, your decision to jump into entrepreneurship and get into real estate? What is your take on that?
So I have two takes from that, and more from obviously a personal standpoint. And then we also have and I always refer to it as a spiritual standpoint when it comes to finding your purpose in life, right? Because a lot of times when we're younger, we're looking for the money, right? But as we get older, we're learning to focus solely on finding ourselves, finding our passion, finding what it is that we're called to do in life to serve out our gift or a purpose. And for me, I can say honestly, y'all, firsthand, for myself, I've experienced so much in the workforce, and this is when it comes to working in a warehouse setting, of which I ran operations management jobs and positions for years in the warehouse, distribution and logistics, that yes, as a Black female, we have to work not twice, but sometimes 3 and 4 times as hard just to prove ourselves. But in relation to the statistic that you just gave, I have one explanation for that. Black women are knowing their worth.
Ooh.
Right now in America, Black women now understand that we are the most demeaned, sometimes talked about, humiliated, overworked, underpaid, underacknowledged people in the workforce that do the most and are criticized for not only knowing our job, but at times speaking our minds. They have characterized us as being bitter, over emotional, aggressive. All these features that sometimes if a white woman were to state the same thing, they would be looked at as heroes. But we are looked at as, oh, she's just got an agenda. She's angry. She's bitter about life. She's entitled.
But you know, that's one of the things I be talking about when it come down to us actually speaking the things that we need to speak about, because they'll put these things on us because they want us to think these things.
Absolutely.
They want us to feel these ways about each other. So conversations like this is to break those molds to the point where we can conversate with each other without hating each other, without disliking each other.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And that's one thing, man, that I appreciate about you, because I be seeing you even online or whatever. You know, you motivate people to, even with my daughter, right? You know, you basically coached her to do these certain things or whatever to get her into the real estate.
Absolutely.
Right. So let me ask you this. What basically brought you to the point where you wanted to get into real estate? Because I'm pretty sure, you know, as a woman, you could have went to any avenue, I would imagine, right? But what pushed you towards the real estate avenue? So
just a little backlog of how I even wanted to tap into the real estate realm was I actually was going through the process of purchasing a home, right? I had a real estate agent, you guys, and I wish by all means that I didn't have to mention her name just to make her look bad, but
we're not.
Oh no!
Yeah,
listen,
we
I would never mention her name, but what I'm saying to you is,
I say that because we're strong with that.
No,
I tell people all the time we ain't mentioning.
No, we ain't doing no name bashing. Sure. However, the young lady serviced me and my husband, and I'm gonna tell y'all, I could see clearly that this woman never had our best interest at heart, because there was never a desire to explain real estate, the purchase, the process. It was just do this, just do that, and not wanting to educate us and not giving us options when they were available. And I always said, and not only that, y'all, but remember, purchasing a home is one of the biggest purchases that you will ever make. Facts. By far.
Forget about it. You
right? What did I say to you? So as having clients, I always encourage them to think of your purchase, and especially that first one, because remember, in that first purchase, you're always going to possibly have room to grow. And I tell people every 5 to 10 years, something drastic is going to happen in your life that may cause you to either move, downsize, job, kids, anything that may change your entire circumstance, right? Or even upgrade. Absolutely. Right. So what does this mean for you? Your home, which is the first purchase that you've made, has to ultimately pay you in order for you to leave that home, have some equity in the property, and be able to move to your next location, right? So I always tell people to view your first purchase as an investment. Now, with the realtor that I had, again, no name calling, but it was a horrible experience. Not only that, but I told myself, man, if I was a real estate agent, this is how I would have handled that. This is how I would have. And y'all, I closed the deal with my husband, and it didn't even feel like I had done anything major or miraculous. It just felt like, oh, you just went and bought a house. She got paid her commission. Y'all go your separate ways. When I close deals with my clients now, 2 weeks after they get in the house, I'm calling them, hey, how was your experience?
No lie.
Not only that, I'm coming to your housewarming. I'm bringing a gift. I'm asking you.
I still got my gift over there right now. It's probably fucked up. I ain't gonna hold you.
That's crazy. Let me go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying this to tackle on to that. I want to make each buyer's experience one they will never forget.
This episode of the Stateline Road Podcast is powered by Peter's Mobile Tire Service. If you're stuck on the road, call Peter's Mobile Tire Service, 901-691-6415. Flats, jump starts, lockouts, and tires, listen, if it's black and round, it's going down. 18-wheelers, Jeeps, pickup trucks, compact cars, Teslas, you name it, they can fix it. And they're coming to you. Peters Mobile Tire Service, 901-691-6415. They're available 24 hours a day, and they come to you anywhere in the tri-state area. That's Tennessee, Mississippi, or Arkansas. Always fast, always friendly, always reliable.
I want to make each buyer's experience one they will never forget. A memorable experience. Not only that, but I want you to understand that my heart and soul went into that transaction.
So I want to ask you just one question. So you mean to tell me that even within you purchasing the house, you wasn't even into real estate at the time? So it just took a situation in order for you to get into that.
Absolutely.
Ooh,
and I told my husband, and when we got to the house, I told him I hated that agent. I hated the way she talked to us. I hated the way she dealt with us. And he said, you know what? You seem to like showing houses all the time. I love the experience of going out to houses, though.
Let me ask you, so what was you doing at the time?
So during the time, I was actually managing in the warehouse.
Oh.
And during that time, I always told myself, I could do this part-time. And my husband said, how you going to do it part-time? And I said, because if I get into a position where I don't have to be in this warehouse all day, and remember, I always told you, this is one thing that people don't know. Working for the man, and this is another reason why I left, they pay you to forget your dreams.
For
and
sure.
in my mind, I had always imagined myself, I could have showed this house better. I could imagine me pulling up in front of a house and telling my client, come on in, have the door open, have the lights on, walk them in, show them step by step how that house looks, walk them to each area, talking to them about the house, the presence of the house, and then also providing a feel or an experience that they would never forget, right?
Man, I'm going to tell y'all this, whatever, and I want to vouch for her for this. I remember even when she was showing my house and she was selling my house, and I was just, it's so crazy because I knew her at this point in time, so we walking through, but she talking to me, I know her, but she still giving me that feel like, I'm fucking with you. I'm making you feel comfortable. I'm doing because I'm telling her we was in the house. I'm like, you don't gotta do all that.
That's exactly. So look, so
I'm telling her like, you don't gotta do all that. I'm cool.
This is exactly what he's saying.
Am I lying?
No.
Right, but
that's my job.
She doing her job.
That's my job.
So I can imagine from you telling me the background of that, I can imagine her doing it because that's how she was moving with me, and she know me.
Let me say this: a lot of people don't know that in the warehouse we have SOPs, standard operation procedures, right?
Yeah.
I took them same SOPs and implemented them into my business. I have a way that I operate on a daily basis that I don't deviate from. And this is what helps me to stay consistent with the way that I operate, the way that I do business, the way that I service each client so that it's consistent. It's down to a size of where I almost have it programmed. This is how I operate on a daily basis, right?
And the other week we was talking about that. That's one of the main things. Keisha, he was talking about that program. You got to have a program into your business. But let me ask you a question, though, and it's for the people. Majority of people that I know experience, when they buying a home, they always have a problem with the realtor. That's like the number one issue. They be like, they don't care about nothing. They were trying to sell me this house. It was this, it was that. They don't care about me. They haven't checked on me. So for the people, what would be your thing? What would you tell the person if they're having a bad experience? How would they go to get another realtor?
Well, I would say most importantly is being vocal, right? And I'm going to tell you this that I've experienced over the last 2 years where a lot of clients are having a rough time with their realtor.
Yes.
Right? And it's really that combativeness. And most times it's a lack of communication where there should be, because sometimes the clients are looking for more information from the realtors and they're not explaining or they're not giving 100% of what they should be in being or practicing with integrity is the word that I want to use, because we sometimes prioritize the money over the service to the client. So a lot of people don't understand what has truly made me successful is I don't focus on the money. God has given me abundance of money because I attract the money, right?
Preach.
And because I attract the money, I know I have an obligation and a due diligence to service each one of my clients with integrity and common decency. However, it's going to be some clients that you're just not going to vibe with because that's the scope of it. You're never going to have a business that's 100% perfect, right?
Period.
You're never going to have clients that always agree with you, right?
Right.
The ways that you have to mitigate mitigate these challenges is by figuring out how can I accommodate each client. And this is what I mean by being versatile, right?
Yeah.
Because you're going to have that client that's going to be, man, I've had clients that got money and they got crappy attitudes. The shittiest people you ever want to see in your life.
But that's majority,
right?
Yeah.
And then I got
weird to
clients
say.
who broke but want $1 million houses, right?
But
So you got to be able to accommodate
That
these
goes
different
back
types
to-
of individuals.
we always
However,
the broke want
this
to
is
cheat.
always usually it can be taken care of by you just having a gentle conversation. Sometimes people don't know that you may have to delegate a deal, meaning I may have a person at the firm, and I just had this happen where I had to delegate a deal to my broker because I had a client who was just being overly combative with me and not understanding that I was teaching her right. I was leading her right. I was educating her. Not only that, but I was telling her the rules of engagement for real estate. But she had in her mind the way that she wanted to operate. She had also people in her ear. And so that can play a large part in that transaction. So how do we overcome those circumstances? Number one, identify, is this a problem that I can actually fix or handle myself? Because some of these problems too big for you, and we don't want to identify that we may have to get somebody else involved to take over that transaction and share that commission with another agent who is properly, who can handle that properly and has the demeanor or tone to handle that client, right? But we're thinking about, I just want the money for myself. But
Yeah, I heard that,
until
right?
we get outside of the scope of thinking that we can have every dollar, because every dollar not going to be a good dollar, right?
For sure.
Right.
And when we understand that, we're going to save ourselves a headache, because now I can give you 30%. You're a realtor on the team. I know your demeanor is good to handle this client. Come over here and let me tell you what's going on with this client. This is where she needs some extra attention. Can you give that to her? And I realized my client ain't looking at the fact that I'm not servicing her properly. I'm a very firm individual, and I look just like her. She want a little bit of this right here. This man look nice. He can come service. He can talk some sweet into her ear. This is what she looking for. Let me get my broker involved. He a nice looking man. He can go over there and help her out. They ain't have an argument. He just reiterated the same thing that I just told her.
Fact.
But we're not matching or vibing because of our demeanors. And that's honestly, that's just life. Now, then too, you're going to have the lazy agent who just wants to get paid. Unfortunately,
That's the worst thing ever. Though.
you will see the aftermath in the results of their business,
Sure.
because long term they will not produce the prudent money that you can see those agents who are consistent, who are constantly working, constantly getting service. And I always say, if I service you right, the thing that you're going to do for me, and I don't have to ever do it myself, you're going to market me for me.
That goes back to relationships are more important than money.
That's right.
For sure.
All day,
That's
every day.
Right. Because, man, and listen, man, and I tell people this all the time, because money is just automatic. Like, it's the most automatic thing, especially if you're doing the job.
Mhm.
Right.
Yep.
People will want to try to get the money before the job is even done. Right.
Absolutely.
So if we seriously and honestly do the job that we're supposed to do, we never have to worry about the money.
Absolutely.
That's one thing that I never worry about is the money, because I know I'm doing the job.
Facts.
So you got to pay me.
People think that's
as a matter of
cocky.
fact-
People think that's cocky when you say you
Call it
don't
cocky.
worry. You don't worry about money. Why you don't worry about money? Because you attract money because of the nature of who you are as a person, right?
That's right.
For sure.
That's right.
Because the thing about it
Yeah.
is,
You feel me?
because the thing about it is, right, like if this person is supposed to pay me and they don't pay me and I know what I'm worth, you may not pay me, but I may not work with you again. Someone's going to have to pay me.
Absolutely.
And this is the key. This is the thing. If I'm doing the job, automatically someone have to pay me.
Absolutely.
And so that's the thing. So I don't have to look for the money because I'm going to automatically get paid because I know my worth and I know what I'm bringing to the table.
Absolutely.
That's just that on everything.
So that goes back to his initial question of why do we see women going into full-time entrepreneurship? Because we know the scope of what we do as women and our jobs in its entirety. Not only that, but we don't have to be yes sir or yes ma'am men anymore, because now we're running our operations where we are the ones who are superseding all of the chains of command, right? And we know that if I can go to your industry or your business and I can make you a multi-million-dollar company, and every quarter I'm making the quotas, we getting at the tables and we sitting down as managers, right? And they tell me, Latonya, your team did XYZ, great job, and everybody just clapping for you. And that's all you gonna get is that little
Yeah, that's it.
5-second clap. They might give you a bonus at the end of the year. But what if, just what if We took for 5 minutes and came up with a plan and orchestrated a plan to make our own selves successful, to generate wealth for our family long term, so that we're not working for each other and for somebody else building schools and building houses and sending their kids to private school, buying them luxury cars. Meanwhile, all you getting is same little 5-second clap. And we're doing it for ourselves. And now we're bringing in our family members, well, some of them, because we can't take everybody, right? And by understanding that part, we eliminate them bad seeds. And then when we bring them in, we say, hey, this is the type of business I run. I'm going to be oversight, but I'm not going to micromanage you.
That's right. That's
And two, we got to understand that we have to train people who are just as good or better than us to run the business, so we can step away from the business, free our time, and go make more money.
No, you said free. You didn't have the body. You didn't have the back part. Freedom ourselves. Because honestly, man, that's just the biggest part of everything, man. Just the freedom of things. You know, but listen, on the back end too, we have to teach people how to actually work also, right? We have to teach people how to see it, because if we talk freedom all the time or big freedom in the beginning, we'll take that away from people that actually need to learn how to work, because you worked before, right?
Absolutely.
Right.
Listen, y'all, let's talk about work. We don't want to talk about work. Look,
hold on,
I got a question to ask you about work too.
For real. I want you to talk about work, but as far as work goes, because I remember one time you worked at
we're at Piggly Wiggly.
No, if you look and see what I'm talking about, you say Piggly Wiggly. It was a clothing store or something. Whatever.
Yes, sir. Man, I worked at
in the mall.
In the mall, yes, sir. The
Southland
store.
Mall.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, you taught me a valuable lesson too. I ain't gonna hold you, right? And I told this story before. I think I even told this story or whatever. Not. It's so crazy for me to tell this story because I was bullshitting. I ain't even had no business fucking around. but I have to tell it because
you got to tell the story, man. Tell the story.
Tell the story because it brought so much light to me or whatever. Not because one time I tried to talk to you. You worked at
true story, y'all. True story.
It's a true story. So she worked at the what was it? What's the name of the store?
I can't. You know what? It might have been Mad Rag or
what Mad Rag?
Not Mad Rag. Man, what's the name of the clothing store? Right there on the corner.
I just said it earlier.
Right there on the corner. Just I can't even think of it, but
it was anyway.
Right there on the corner of the Southland Mall. Y'all know the Southland Mall. So anyway, Southland Mall.
You know, listen, I know her from back in the day. This is so crazy.
Man, we go way back.
I'm fucking around telling this story, but I'm telling you. So anyway, I'm in the mall and I see
wife, don't kill me now. Did nothing happen now.
It did not happen. This is a long time ago. So I'm in the store. I'm trying to holler at her and shit. She told me, she said, and I told him, like, it was so crazy because when you told me that, anyway, I'm going to tell you what she said. I'll try to holler at her, whatever. Now. She said, man, I'm not even going to lie. I've got a lot of stuff going on. I'm going through some things and some shit, she said. And from her telling me that.
Keep it a buck.
Listen, a buck, right? I'm thinking in my brain, like, you know what? You're absolutely fucking right because I'm going through some shit too. I'm bullshitting even.
I'm gonna tell y'all what I told this. I almost called him a nigga, but what I told this man. He came up talking about, what's going on? Let me take you out on a date. Come on, let's go out. I said, man, I'm gonna be real with you. Right now in my life, I got so much shit going on. I would really waste your time. I ain't gonna be able to take nothing serious.
No, that was real.
Yes.
And to solid. This day, that man respected me. He ain't talk bad to me. He ain't say nothing.
Man, to this day.
You know what he said?
Once
he looked at me and he said, you know what? I can respect that shit.
I know. I took that with me. To this day, I
tell you know the every nigga, motherfucker.
Yeah.
But listen, I took that with me to this day to the point where I'm where she at. Like, I respect that because I don't even got no business fucking. Oh, I feel the same way. Yeah. And I didn't even notice that I felt that way. I know we kind of off subject whatever now, but I wanted to say that because I appreciate you to this day. Like, even to this day, man, I think about this to the point where every time I do, she didn't stop me from doing a bunch of bullshit with this statement, right? So, and I know we was back.
And we was young. Like, we were young.
So
we
even,
young.
Right. So even for you, and that's what we was going back to whatever, not even with job that you worked or whatever, not because, let's think of the name of the store. We got to, It wasn't It's Fashion. It was
That's what it was.
It wasn't It's Fashion.
It was just like It's Fashion.
It was the store. What Coco? The name of the store, whatever. That was right in the mall.
City Trend.
There you go.
City Trend.
There you
It
go.
was City Trend.
City Trends.
It was City
He hit it
Trends.
on the head.
Yep.
City Trends. There you
And
go.
she used to
It was
work
in
at
my
City
face.
Trend or
I
whatever.
worked at City Trends.
And so, right, she worked at City Trend. So it's crazy. And that's what we was going back to, whatever. Now, like, have you ever worked a job? And
Oh, man,
and it's
job,
so
man.
crazy, right? No, let me tell you this, right? I was at Samika's store.
Mm-hmm.
And I went over there, whatever, not, being supportive or whatever.
Right,
so when I
right.
go in there, she say, yeah, MJ, because, we look up to you and this and that thing. Because we know you ain't never had a job. You kidding me? I've had jobs. Are you fucking kidding me?
Man, look,
No, so that's why I want to bring that up or whatever now with the
I
job
say-
you had.
just to piggyback off this part right here about jobs, y'all.
For sure. Let's get
If
into
you ever wanted to admire not just job but hustle mindset, this man has been hustling since a teenager that I've seen. And now before then, I don't know, because of course I came to Mississippi long after, knowing whatever he had going on. But at a young age, seeing this man at every venue that was popping, like literally to this day, he still wear the same kind of shades.
Are you talking about me? Okay.
I'm talking about you.
Okay.
To admire, and this is what they call real hustle and flow.
Mm-hmm.
When this man had something that wasn't jumping or that wasn't going the way that he wanted, he would improvise. I seen this man go from having stuff in his trunk, selling shirts, doing like literally, I'm talking about DJing, photography. Man,
That's so
this man
crazy.
would be at a club, would set up shop out of his trunk and be right there taking pictures.
That's so crazy because I
Like-
never pay attention to anything. And I tell people all the time, like, I never pay attention.
Man.
I don't even know if anybody else be paying attention because I just be moving.
I paid attention.
So for you to
man.
say that or whatever, now, I never knew that you even paid attention.
I
right?
paid attention. I told Mika, man, it's crazy that I see you now, and to have you as a client was so humbling. It was a pivotal moment in my life where I got a chance to realize, dang, even the people that you're coming up with, you're servicing those same
That's so crazy
individuals.
because I feel the same way about you.
Man, that was when I tell you it was very fulfilling for me, purpose fulfilling, to a point where I was like, man, this is a Mississippi great. You know what I mean? I'm sitting here with Mr. Hustle Man himself.
Dude, I'm gonna tell you what's so crazy because even with you, because I could have went anywhere. I mean, honestly, I could, whatever not, but
Oh man, I had somebody check me about you. They came to me like, how you get Marvin? I was dealing with Marvin. I was like, oh man,
but I have to take it back to where I'm from and the people that I know, right? So even when I see you, I'm like, oh, okay, I'm going on, girl. Period.
I appreciate that.
Yeah,
But y'all,
continue.
I'm telling y'all something. Marvin wasn't no easy client either. Now Marvin got a mind of his own. So let's get back to
believe
that
that.
part. Let's get back to that part. He was moving and grooving on his own accord, but I still made sure that he was knowledgeable, and I told him,
For sure.
if the deal fell through, I got a bag up for
And
you.
you did. It did fall through.
And it did exactly what
Yeah.
I told. But I told this man exactly how the deal would go based off of previous experience. But I told him I had somebody waiting. I had that one in the chamber, y'all. And he was ready. Every turn that I possibly needed him to come across, he was like, what I need to do. Just tell me. Don't sugarcoat. And look, I'm not a child. You ain't got to explain. You ain't got to just tell me what you need me to do. And he did it. Every step of the way.
And that's as a business owner.
That's the thing between, I always say, people who talk and people who do.
Yeah.
But I
yeah.
want to say this though, but listen, that's just as a business owner or whatever, not to the point where they kind of made it a little bit more difficult because I have to do
Oh,
I
absolutely.
have to do different things or whatever. Not. So I just want to tell anyone as a business owner, it's a totally different experience or it's a totally different move as far as purchasing a home.
Absolutely.
We went through some things.
Ooh.
And you coached me through it. You walked me
Absolutely.
through it. You knew how stressful that was for me.
Oh, absolutely. I
Yeah.
saw it all. Even most
I'm
times that I
calling her all
called,
the
he
time,
was
like-
he was breathing hard, like,
I take trips. I'm calling. Listen, man. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it was. I ain't gonna hold y'all. It was one of the most stressful things that I've ever done. Let me ask you this. So in your experience, right? Because I want to get to the people to the point where the difference between purchasing a home as a person as a worker or purchasing a home as a person as a business owner. You know, how different is that?
Ooh.
overall. I know my experience was crazy.
I just had to go through it again. So I can use my own self as a reference. When I was actually working for a company that's a W-2 company where I was getting paid. And of course, I made about 92 a year. My bonus probably threw me over to maybe 105. But
Black woman.
That income for when I went into real estate changed. You getting paid on a 1099. And see, they need verification on them 1099s because you filing all these taxes. The government wants to know, are you actually filing that money that you're saying you claimed and that you're going to say you made to get this house? We want to see it. Because the W-2, all they need is the W-2 because the W-2 is enough proof to show who you've worked for and how much money you've made for the year, right? But when you got them 1099, you got people writing 1099s all flimsy and willy-nilly. They want to see, have you paid taxes to Uncle Sam on all this money that you made, right?
So you're right.
That's right.
Right. Not only that, if you haven't, why haven't you done so? And you need to come current ASAP. Now, coming current, if you're not in a current state, what that looks like for a person who is behind even 1 year. So let's just say you just behind 1 year and they need 2 years of tax returns. So now you got another year coming up and you behind a year. So that means that you got to catch that previous year up plus the one that is approaching, right? Major no. Then too, you got to pay in at this point, right? Because if you don't have a lot of write-offs, and if you do have a lot of write-offs, what that look like for a person who's writing off? What it looks like for a person who's writing off all their income, you didn't make no money.
That's right.
Yep.
They're looking at you made the money, but you didn't sustain the money. So
I'm 3-4 years, 5.
Yeah, a lot of us love to But what business go to 5 years, don't it?
No, but you have to have 3.
So listen to this. By law, you can technically only be behind 2 years.
Right.
Right? After 2 years, that's when they come hunting for you. Like, why haven't you filed a claim? Your taxes.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
Right?
But everybody think different though. So that's good you saying that because
but
Fuck what you
thinking
thinking.
and having that thank you. So
now I'm
thinking-
just saying what they think.
right.
for
So
sure.
thinking and knowing is two different things because remember, the banks are designed to go by strict guidelines, right, and ordinances. Because if they get audited, then we got a problem if they're not doing what they're supposed to do on their end by verifying the client. Now, when it comes to that, if you decline and you haven't done what you're supposed to do, red flag. One, they want to know, can you take care of this? And if you can, we need the proof to show that you have taken care of it.
Period.
And they want to verify after you've given the proof, right? Because people nowadays, we got this little thing called technology and artificial intelligence, right? So people are printing documents, people are doing any and everything under the sun to try to get by. And y'all, I promise you, they will catch you every time because their software is just as good as the software and they know how to identify. Now, true enough, some people getting through the crevices and cracks, but I'm telling you, it's not worth it. That is a case of fraud. And I would tell anybody,
Don't do
get
it.
with you a knowledgeable realtor or a lender that can guide you through exactly what you're supposed to do.
And a good tax preparer too.
And
Also,
also, I was just going to say, don't just look for a tax preparer. Look for a CPA when you're an entrepreneur.
For sure.
Because a lot of tax preparers are standard tax preparers. A CPA is going to have a little bit more depth of knowledge of how to get the write-offs, what money can be given back as far as a write-off, all the areas where they actually can give income back where they can take it away and you won't be charged for it, right? So that's why I say when we get into these levels of becoming an entrepreneur,
yes,
there are certain levels that we're going to have to elevate in the business as well. So a lot of people think, well, it's just all cool because we making money and we doing this and doing that. But in the end, if your goals are to have more and do more, if you want to borrow money from the banks, there is a certain standard that we must uphold ourselves as entrepreneurs.
Right. And then that's just for as entrepreneurship goes or whatever now, because I'm pretty sure you don't want to scare anyone from purchasing a house.
Absolutely.
For people that's actually working.
Absolutely.
But as entrepreneurs, I'm gonna keep it a buck with you. Be afraid because these are things Am I lying?
Man,
I'm not lying.
I couldn't have said it better. Even
Be
me,
afraid, because these are things that
even me-
we actually have to take care of. Because I remember it was things that I did that I fucked up in. I bought a car
Oh,
that I had to pay off.
ooh.
It was $60,000. I had to pay this car
You
for
know,
2 or 3 months.
nobody's above the rules.
I'm talking to her. But see, this is the thing with her. She listen. She talking to me and she like, "Wait, you shouldn't." But I'm gonna keep it a buck, right? I'm so confident at the time or whatever, not because and this was my main confidence thing, to the point where whether I took care of the business or not, I always save the bread to be able to pay these certain things.
Absolutely.
Right. So even if
Absolutely.
you don't know, I remember Lil Baby had a conversation or whatever night when he said that he wasn't afraid of the IRS because he saved money just in case
Mhm.
he had to pay them. So my whole thing was to the point where, okay, I can just save the money also. So if they come for me or whatever, I can pay these things. You was concerned. Like, she was super concerned.
Oh,
Like,
yeah,
she was
because-
like, I'm trying to tell you, you
He
can't
didn't
do this.
understand that. He
You
didn't
can't
understand
do
that.
this.
Because
But see-
where we were having a scuffle was producing the receipts for the money.
Right.
Because a lot of people think saving money is by pulling it out of that chest or that cabinet or that safe you got in your room up under the bed. And that's not the type of money that the government want to see. They want to see documented money.
What they
Money
call it,
that's
sourced in
app-
season.
app-
Sourced
right.
in season.
So when you understand that and you have a person that's saying, "Oh, well, I can produce 64,000
It's
pay
a-
this car,"
listen.
and I
Hey,
said,
look,
64
you know
from
what?
where? What? You,
You know
not
what?
on my end? What?
You know what's so crazy? Because I'm wary, but she wary. she wary like, MJ. So where you gonna get this money from? You know, can you do this? I can't do this. But the whole time, right? She talking to me like I'm a goddamn drug dealer.
Hey, but you know what? She want to satisfy them underwriters.
That's right.
You know what?
That's
And
right.
she
That's
did
right.
or whatever. Not, and she had my best interests at heart.
Always,
And it was a
always.
lot of times that I would keep her scared to the point where, fuck it, if you gonna think this shit, think that shit. But I know what it is though. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, you had me nervous. Man.
Yeah,
I
because
tell you.
I'm nervous for sure. But,
Oh, yeah,
but
yeah,
she
yeah.
nervous like, oh man, I'm telling you, you
Yeah, I'm telling you, man.
And I'm like,
and when it
in my
and
brain,
it
I'm like,
came
Trey,
back,
don't worry about it. I got
and
a
it
business.
did come back because he was saying, well, they were asking where the funds come from, and I told him, well, your wife on the account. If your wife on the account, let's go ahead and make sure she on the business account or whatever, so we can make sure those funds can be traceable.
These was crazy conversation.
Oh
y'all.
man, ooh, y'all.
Yeah.
But they were necessary
They were
because
necessary
they were
conversations, for
necessary because they came up at some point, and I didn't want my client to look as if he had no idea of what was going on or what the expectation was. The least thing that he could have already said was, you know what, my crazy ass agent told me.
You did. But let me tell you something though, right? It kind of reminded me of the time, and this is kind of off the subject, but on the subject. Remember the time that lawyer told us, Coco, your lawyer told us we got off? And my lawyer was just talking to me like, well, you know, this, that, and the third.
Yeah.
In my brain, I'm thinking to him like, you say what the fuck you want to say, but I know what the fuck going on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So with her, it was just one of those type of things, because just like my lawyer, she telling me this, that, and third. But in my brain, I'm just assuring her that we cool. I'm telling you, I got this.
That's how he acted the whole time.
I got this. Don't worry about it.
But then at the end, he tell me, man, this was the most stressful thing I ever been through in my life.
Well,
I closed. Listen, though, I want to say this though. As far as the business, right, in closing day, right, I didn't fucking get the loan to closing day. Closing fucking day. Closing day? Okay, well, cool. We already got the house, the paper signed, this, that, and third, or whatever, not. So I'm like, cause listen, and I got denied from a place that we were talking about earlier, or whatever. Now, so
He went to the bank. I told him don't go to. I said, sir,
You
they
did.
dropped these loans in the middle of the process.
You did,
and they do not give any explanation for why they will drop you. Sure enough,
right. So I get dropped. So
I had my lender on standby. I already called my lender. Listen, because I was so reassured with what I'm giving him.
This how her she is. Too.
I put my lender on backlog. I had him on standby,
Yeah.
right? Had I already gave him his information. He said, well, you can do whatever you want to do. I know who I want to go with. That's fine. But I know this is what our timeline say in the contract. I'm protecting your earnest money because I have an obligation to make sure you either get this house or either we get your money back. That's
and
what
I'm in
concerned
Chicago
about.
on vacation. So just imagine on vacation, you get a fucking
Man,
phone
on
call.
vacation 2-3 times
You
out
get
the whole
denied.
transaction.
The vacation fucked. Fuck the
Ooh.
vacation. This whole thing fucked up, right? So, and this is my first time going through the process as a business owner or whatever.
Right.
And so that's why I want to keep on reiterating this, because this is all about business or whatever, and how business owners and things of that nature need to get their business together.
That's right. That's right.
Or
So
get their
true.
process together. So
I couldn't agree. I couldn't agree more.
when you call or whatever. Not. But once again, man, she took care of me for real, for sure. So we go through the bag up plan, right? You know, so he called Tim, right? Know his name, stop playing. And so we go through that. But on the same token, though, it was still stressful, because just imagine, man, how much money you have to pay as a business owner, man. I had to pay. Like, I had to pay, right?
Absolutely.
Have to pay the IRS. I got to pay this car. I got
That's
to
right.
That third. And
Because
then
people don't understand DTI, and we have to do better with explaining what DTI really is.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times we have our sights set on a particular property or a purchase of a certain caliber, if that makes sense. And we're looking at, I make the money, but then also the lender is looking at you making the debt too. You got a lot of debt,
and you got to give up that money too.
That's right. So we looking at, you're going to be a liability if we find it, because we really can't finance you at this rate, because one, your DTI is too high. So we're telling you.
What's DTI?
DTI is debt to income.
Ratio.
And when we start talking about debt to income, we're talking about how much you physically make versus how much debt you truly have.
Right.
And they're looking at what can you possibly sustain month to month and afford it without it being a risk to the lender, right? And they have certain numbers and ratios that they go by, guidelines for each borrower, such as yourself. And when you're a high risk borrower or your credit scores are low, that DTI gonna be even tighter for you.
That's right.
Well, in layman's terms, you got to make the motherfucking money in order to afford the shit.
And less debt.
Layman's terms.
Less debt.
Right. And you have to let it's kind of like, I can't make $1,000 and then owe
there you go
$700 and expect to be able to purchase something else.
There you go.
Right. So in layman's terms, you have to be able to afford these certain things. So it's kind of like, I have to make a certain amount of money. And because this is very important too. You have to make a certain amount of money. So with the IRS, it's like, okay, so how much money did you actually make? So if you had to make $300,000 a year, I keep it light. If you have to make $100,000 a year in order to be able to afford this certain type of house, so you say I made $100,000, the IRS saying you owe us money on that $100,000.
That's right, absolutely.
So if you have a business or whatever or not, you owe this money, you made this money, you got to pay that money. So now it's like, so you want to buy a house, you made $100,000, you owe us $25,000.
That's right.
So now you got to pay the IRS $25,000. So imagine this, right? I had to make a certain amount of money, right? So since I made that certain amount of money, now I got to pay. Not only did I have to pay this car off, or that car off, or that vehicle off, or these loans off, I had to pay the IRS.
Right.
Right?
Absolutely.
So I think I had to pay the IRS like $40,000 for 1 year, $50,000 for another year. I was over 100.
And then just think,
and this what made it stressful for me.
Just think if you don't have a CPA who can properly assess your taxes, right? Because there are a lot of credits and things that can be given that also can be given back. But sometimes we'll just go to people who, again, out of familiarity, we'll go to people who we think are okay because they know family members. We've been around and we raised around them. But we need to hire qualified candidates that can assess our businesses and tell us where we can save money or prepare. Because now we're talking about you can pay in quarterly to the IRS. A lot of people don't know. You can actually prepay your taxes. You pay in quarterly to go ahead and offset what you're going to have to pay back at the end of the year, right?
Right.
A lot of people don't know there's options available for us to do that. But because, again, we hang around people who are uneducated or we don't get around in the right rooms that will educate us on how to do that. But I will say this, if you are an entrepreneur, and even if you're a W-2 worker and you're thinking about becoming an entrepreneur, buy that house first. I tell anybody, buy that house first.
It's deep.
Yeah.
Buy that house first.
Before you get too deep in, like you said, go ahead and get it. And then the other thing too, they giving you some real good game, and you really need to understand this. At the end of the day, it's not what you feel like you can afford. It's what the risk is, because they're going to put your loan into a CMO which is a collateralized mortgage obligation, and they're going to sell it in the secondary market. And if they can't sell it in the secondary market, they're not going to fund it. So it's not about what you feel like you can afford. And the reason why you got to have those taxes, because at any point in time, Uncle Sam's going to come get his. And if he comes to get his and you already behind on your mortgage, Uncle Sam don't care. So now you're in foreclosure, and now the loan is defaulted. So if you go ahead and make you do that on the front end, right? You do it on the front end, pay it on the front end. They don't have to worry about that, and they can get the loan underwritten. So, good stuff. You mentioned something a minute ago about humility, and MJ, you talked about that last week when we had MG on here about being humble, everyone in this room, no doubt, is a servant leader, and being humble is really the cousin of being not cocky but confident. Because if you're not confident, it's hard to be humble, right? And I'm 30 years in the gaming business. I'm snot-nosed 21-year-old, and the first thing I was taught by my bosses is you don't see black or white, you see one color. You see green. And they didn't have titles on our name tags. And you hit on something, because I had to handle a really big dispute with a really big high roller. And my boss positioned me to be his boss because of a personality conflict that he was having with this guy. And because he thought I was his boss, it brought the walls down, and we were able to get, the situation resolved.
Absolutely.
But if he was too cocky, right, and not confident, and wasn't humble, we never would have gotten it done. So you've done that.
We missed the mark because of pride.
Yeah.
But when you think about the overall concept of what you're supposed to be doing, the overall concept is to service the client. And if you put the client's needs above everything else, then we'll put that pride to the side for a moment. And ultimately, it would pay you off, right? Because this would have been a situation where I was telling you I could have potentially lost a client. They would have put a bad name out for me. But because I was selfless in that situation, not selfish, but selfless. Because I didn't put the money first. Because remember, God has already blessed me with an abundance of money. So I understand I'm going to attract the money. I don't need to put this one transaction as a call for me to say, oh, I got to have this money from this trend. No, I'm looking at, I want this client to understand that I'm going to put her needs above anything else. So I'm going to bring and hire someone else to come in, make sure that we mitigate this situation, calm it down before it escalates out of control. And guess what she told my broker? She wanted to fire me and go to another agency. But because I told him already what the situation was, he volunteered to step in and take over the transaction. And she was receptive of that. And because she was receptive of that, guess what we just did? We just saved the whole deal. And she ended up coming back to me and telling me she wants to keep the house. We ended up negotiating a much better deal. And now she's back with me, and we continue on the transaction. And that also allows my broker to see that he is grooming agents that are working just as hard as he is and keeping up a reputable agency, and that supersedes who he is.
Yeah.
Why is purchasing a home so hard?
Purchasing a home is not hard. I want us to take that notion out of it. Most times purchasing a home gets complex simply because we haven't educated ourselves. That's the only problem to purchasing a home that really gets difficult. And because we have not educated ourselves, we're not prepared. Versus if we're educated and we're prepared, it makes the process a lot smoother.
So what would be the way to educate to make sure that it's easy to make
easier? Because I want to say this too, to the point, like just adding on to what she just said or whatever. Now, I wasn't prepared.
Yeah. So what's the process to prepare yourself?
I would say always this is to each its own of where you're at in life ordeal. However, there's never a such thing as being educated too early, if that makes sense. That's number one. Two, we got to get out of the notion of that you have to be a certain age to buy, right?
Yeah.
Because a lot of times people think that the best option in most cases is to go rent right off the top. But if we start teaching at a young age that we
Right.
can buy
Period.
before we rent, then this will get us out of the idea of making ourselves believe that the first step to trying to be on our own is go rent from Tom.
Right.
Because guess what we do? We condition ourselves when we start renting to be renters long term. A lot of people don't know that when you start renting at an early age, we
You
get
condition yourself.
comfortable.
Facts.
When we get comfortable, we think in a box. And that box is, I'm a renter, so I rent now. And because we don't step outside the box of being a renter to a homeowner, sometimes we just sit right there because we're like, I can pay my rent. And if I'm late, they only give me this little $50 charge or whatever. And I'm cool with that. I ain't got to fix nothing because the guy might come in here and fix it every now and then, but then
They
I got to
always
wait
said
on
it.
them. And all these, we thinking about excuses. I ain't got to cut
Let me
no
ask y'all a
grass.
question.
But
Why
no,
do
listen,
people think that?
No, I want to say
Why
this,
do
though.
people
I ain't
think
got to
they
cut
gotta
no
rent?
grass.
But I want to say this, but not only that, man, people in general, especially young people, they always go towards the easier thing.
Absolutely.
And the easier thing, man, it may seem easy at that point in time, right? Because even for me, stop me if I'm wrong, even for me, for home buying, I would say this because I purchased later on in the game, right? But on the same token, though, financially, I mean, it is not on no boats and shit or whatever now, but financially, I could afford that, right?
Absolutely.
Because I put business before a lot of things, right?
Absolutely.
So if I put business before a lot of things or whatever, now financially, I probably could. But a lot of people don't put business before things.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're a person, to me, that's kind of working a job and you coming up and you're trying to build something, to me, I think that you should, stop me if I'm wrong, but I feel like you should do it early. Because to me, the earlier you do it, because to me, money, home buying is a money saving mechanism.
But you know, a lot of people rent just for what she said, just to avoid the maintenance.
So
But
seriously.
no. Because once again, that's only because you can be conditioning that, right?
Yeah, but that's the excuse though.
So I want to take it back to what I was just saying, to the point of it could be a question or whatever. Now, to the point of I feel like home purchasing, to me, even to now, and I'm thinking it is now, is to me it could be a money saving mechanism, right? And this is how I think, right? And I could be wrong. But the house that I purchased, and the reason I say it could be a money saving mechanism to the point where, and this is anything, right? Even with that car I purchased, I said I paid off, right? Because if I had not paid that car off as fast as I did, I would have lost a lot of money, right?
Mm-hmm.
So even within housing, you should see how fast I'm trying to pay this.
Oh,
house,
absolutely,
right?
absolutely.
So
So
if I'm
that comes back to the education portion. Excuse me for
For sure,
interrupting.
go ahead.
But let me say this: if we get into the notion of explaining better ways for us to acquire the homes versus us getting in apartments, let me tell you what apartment is essentially a trap, right? And I'm gonna tell you why. We don't look at it as a trap, but fundamentally it is. Why? Because we get in the apartments, and when we get in apartments, we still have bills we have to maintain, right? So if you're in an apartment that you're paying almost the equivalent to a house, how in the world do you expect to save enough to get the house?
Not even how wide, right?
That goes back to what you said. People will rent to avoid the maintenance.
Absolutely. However, if we explain what a house provides versus what renting provides, a lot of people will see that it makes sense. Even if you fail the first attempt at buying, it's still worth it, right? Because of the equitable value that you're getting in the
Learn
home.
something.
Let me ask you this,
Right?
The equity.
I want to ask you this.
Yes, sir.
So, to you, it mattered to me, right?
Mhm.
Just in my brain, do it matter to you, or should it matter the age limit of whether you should purchase a house or not?
So I will say
And let's
this.
be 100 about this.
I will say this. I had my first 21-year-old client in 2023. And y'all, when I tell you this was the most remarkable, I don't care what client I've ever had. I've had $600,000, $700,000, $200,000 deals, $100,000 deals. But no client has ever stood out to me more in my history of real estate than this 21-year-old young man. Why? Because this young man, came from a home where he saw his family buying houses and they had multiple homes, right?
Mhm.
But he always said, you know what? I got my first apartment at 20. I rented, and I thought about it. They going up on my rent again.
Facts every year.
Yeah.
And that man said to me, he said, Miss Tanya, all I want is something nice. He said, but I want it to be where I can afford to get back and forth to work with ease. He wanted it conveniently located where it was close to his job, and that he could resell it at a decent price. And this is why I always push the agenda of your house is an investment. I don't sell houses based off of looks, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Period.
I'm gonna tell y'all something. I have talked myself out of $500,000 deals just to make sure that my clients be in a neighborhood that's going to service them in the future. Because I want you to think of it like this. If I sell you a house that has no equitable value or is in a community that is depreciating annually, what does that look like when you get ready to move and you call me and I got to tell you, you ain't got but $5,000 worth of equity in your home?
But people don't care about
And you
that.
know what? That's hard because, like, even within my business
So-
or whatever, not, I'll get people that come into the business and say,
I
I want to buy
say all
this,
this-
and I'm like, nope, you don't need to do all that.
I say all that to say that as a realtor, I'm an educator first, right?
For sure.
And because I'm an educator, that is my primary goal, is that you know
That's
what
right.
you're getting yourself into. Not only that, but you're making a decision that's going to benefit you long term. But guess who's going to reap the benefits off of you making a wise decision? Everyone.
That's right.
Everyone, right?
Everyone, including myself, because you're never going to forget the experience that I gave you. Also, you're going to remember how much love and care that I put inside of that transaction, right? And so when you come back, you're going to think about, man, that woman, she saved me so much money by putting me here or allowing me to go here or showing me here that I want her to sell my house, right? And that way, that's a two-way commission at that point. I'm
That's
getting
right.
the buy and the sell part of the transaction. And yeah, we're talking about money. But at the same time, all in all, I know that you're going to refer me to a family member. Yeah, I just had a deal this year. One deal, I serviced 6 people in a family. And all of them had over $300,000 houses. All of them. Every last one of them. Every last one of them. 6 people, y'all, in a family that referred me right in the circle. But guess what? I was able to fix their credit. Some of them, their credit was, when I tell you, another thing, preparation. We're talking about preparation right here, right? Another thing that's a great hindrance for us is our credit. Our credit is hindering us so severely because no one's educating us on the importance of credit, saving for a rainy day, 401k investing, anything that's going to help us long term that we are not discussing because those uncomfortable conversations force us to acknowledge where we're not doing our part, right? Or where we're spending recklessly. All of those things come up to the point where we're having to say, you know what, I could be doing better. I could have me an account put up over here to where I can be saving for my house, et cetera, et cetera. But we're not talking about it.
We're not talking about we're not talking about it. And that's the main thing, even with this podcast, and I tell people all the time, whatever, we don't talk about these certain things. That's why we can't do better, right? Because even for me with credit or whatever, now it's so crazy that you say that whatever, now, because I didn't even think that it was important until I thought that it was important, right? Because I wasn't even tripping off credit. I checked my credit score one time. I wasn't even checking credit score. I ain't gonna hold you. So when I checked my credit score one time, it was like, and I tell people this story all the time. It was like 760. Let me just tell this story real quick. So I'm talking to my cousin one day, whatever, and I had got an American Express card or whatever. And I'm telling him, I'm like, man, my credit score not even that good or whatever. Now, I got an American Express card. You can get one. So he like, no, it got to be this. You got your credit score. It got to be this, that, and the third. I'm like, no, I don't. So anyway, I go in there and check I'm telling him, I'm talking on the phone. I'm pulling up on the phone like, hell yeah, cuz I'm telling you. So I look at my credit score. It's like 760. And I'm like, never mind, right? So even after that, now it's kind of like, what am I going to do with this credit score? Right? But hey, my first thing, like, what the fuck you get a helicopter? Right? I'm not even thinking about a house,
you
right?
guys, I say
But I ain't no calling you
back
after
to the absolutely. And when you told me your credit score, I was shocked, y'all. I ain't gonna lie, I was shocked.
I was shocked because I wasn't even.
I'm gonna tell y'all, I was shocked, and I'm gonna tell you why. Because, and this is sad to say, but this is a harsh reality. We are in a time where a lot of the African American community has already severely damaged their credit by the age of 25, right? And even from those who have been damaged by 21, because I want you guys to know this is a true thing. Parents are in such a financial crisis, they're utilizing their children's credit to go finance things because they've jacked up their own credit. People don't think that's a thing in the African community.
Yeah, no, that's been a thing since the 70s. Because I had a Goldsmith car when I was 8 years old.
I'm telling you.
The other things we need to come back with a part two, because see, we haven't even talked about the wealth building part of this,
absolutely,
right? Because you can help some people build wealth
Yeah, 'cause
too
I was
on the
about to-
investment.
I mean, even with going back to this part, I didn't just jump into real estate based off of real estate alone. There are some intricate parts of this. I actually took a credit repair class right before getting into real estate. And when I went into credit repair, it opened up so many doors for me. I joined Recession Proof with him 500. I learned stocks. I day trade in the daytime, y'all. When I tell you, there are so many avenues for making money that, you know, silent millionaires tap into that a lot of people don't know. And I always told myself, when I become a millionaire, I didn't want nobody to know.
Yeah.
I walk around here regular, because I don't want to become a target.
No, she got to be. I want to ask about that too, but I don't want to get into it for tax purposes. I don't want to talk about.
I always
said
when
she just said. Say that
when I
again.
become a millionaire, I don't want nobody to know. I'm a regular.
You said
When?
or when you did.
Okay, tap
so
into it.
I want to say
sure.
this though, right? No, I want to say this. No, let me ask it. I gotta ask a question because there's a thing that you be into, whatever. Not these. I don't know what it is or whatever. Not the millionaires. What is it?
Absolutely, the multi-million dollar.
Because we talked about
absolutely,
this a year or so
absolutely.
ago, right? So the
So
multi-million dollar.
this makes year number 4 for Tennessee. Year number 3, I've been a multi-million dollar club for real estate. And that actually is an achievement for the high producing agents who actually are consecutive with making their numbers and who sell. And I want to tell y'all something, even in this industry where we always talk about racism and things like that, the number used to be at $3.5 million for a realtor, right? Then they pushed it up to 5 million in volume. Now, again, this is in volume. So let's talk about in terms of volume. In volume, that means what you sold for the year. I started out in real estate and I was doing probably about 4 million my first year.
So what percentage of sellers use a real estate agent? And should you?
You know what? I would say about 80%, because what's going on now, they have this thing where they have a virtual assistants going on, and people feel like now they can try to save a buck, if that makes sense, by either hiring the virtual assistants or these online realtors who can assist with the showing to cut spending where they can and that commission that they're paying, but ultimately not knowing they're probably losing more money than they're gaining in that process. But I will say everybody is, and this is even going on in society where they're making you feel like, well, you don't have to use the professionals to get a job done. That's what's being sold. Use our services, and it's a one-time flat fee of $1,200, and that $1,200 where you think that you're saving money by hiring a realtor ends up looking like you may have lost $10,000 to $12,000 on a transaction, because now you're unrepresented. You don't know what's going on because nobody's negotiating on your behalf to tell you what's right or wrong. The deal's just going to close. Everybody's going to get that one set fee and go on about their business. So how much do you think someone's going to care about you and your transaction?
No, I mean, honestly, that make a lot of sense to me, because there be a lot of people, they'll come to me and they'll ask me, how do I feel about buying certain things from China? And don't get me wrong, man, it's certain things that you can buy from China, but if it don't come with that warranty, or if it don't come with that person that you can actually talk to, or that person that you can actually deal with, you can lose on that.
Oh, absolutely.
Listen, I remember I bought a machine from China, and something something happened to the machine I swear to God, true story. The person that called me, they was talking in Chinese, and I'm like, what the fuck is this? This is crazy, right? You know, you're talking to me in a different language on how to fix something, right? So I just feel like even within that or whatever, I mean, just dealing with a personal person, especially a good person, that makes all the sense too.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
In which I feel like you're a good person.
Does that make you or stop you from buying in the future from China?
Certain things, for sure. It depends on what it is. Just certain things, you know, because some things should come with a warranty. Some things should come with people that, well, some things should come from things that have feelings, or people that have feelings are good people, you know, opposed to just trying to get a cheaper price about something. Because once again, like you just said, we can lose trying to find that cheaper price.
That's right.
Within a lot of things.
We learn a lot of hard lessons trying to be cheap.
For sure.
That's why they say quality over quantity.
Quality over quantity, for sure, man. Especially when it comes down to good people, man. They got your best interests at heart. And I want to make sure I put that out there, too, because everybody don't.
That's right. That's right.
You know what I mean? You're one of the few, honestly, to tell you the truth, right?
Right. And I'm thankful for that spirit, because honestly, if you think about it, when we were coming up, we learned that mechanism or that way of living with survival of the fittest mentality. And because we learned the survival of the fittest mentality, sometimes we lose morale. And that morale is what keeps us humble. Like I said, it keeps us utilizing that integrity that we have rooted down within us. But sometimes we get so focused on chasing the bag, we lose sight of being great people, because it's like, I gotta have it by any means necessary, because that's what the world teaches us.
For sure.
But that's really not the way it should be. But, you know, that's another subject for another day.
No, that's the same subject or whatever. And honestly, to tell you the truth, because that's what this podcast is all about. And I say this all the time, you know, to the point where we so disconnected when it comes down to us, and especially as people, to the point where, you know, they don't want us to know each other. They don't want to know how we move or how we are. They want to paint this picture that people don't see. So we have to have these type of conversations in order for people to know. It's like, even for someone can look at you and just say, okay, well, she just sell houses. She could just make the deal. But no one knows that you're going through hoops and loops and holes and everything just to make these deals happen.
Absolutely.
No one knows that you're making these phone calls and making people feel comfortable.
Absolutely.
And you care about these things more than the people actually even care about these
Absolutely.
things. Because
Absolutely.
the person don't even actually know when it comes down to purchasing
Absolutely.
a home.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
So you know way more, but people don't see this. And they don't want us to see these things, right? So that's the.
So that goes back to that value being pulled from our job, or them discrediting what we actually do for a living, because all they see is the glitz and the glamour and who they think we are on the outer perspective from what they see on social media sometimes, and they get caught up in the limelight and not understanding that there are people who really care and they actually want to see other people thrive, right?
Right.
We're so used to being around that whole competition, people envying us because of who we are or where we are in life, and that we surround ourselves, even in our families, we see it where people are not accepting of who we have become over the years, because they're so used or familiar with you back when you were in a poverty-stricken place, right? And people like that version of you because it makes them feel more comfortable with who they are. However, when you step outside of your comfort zone and you excel, then it makes them uncomfortable, because sometimes they have to look at themselves and identify some of their flaws and where they stopped or where they got complacent.
Right.
And so these conversations, unfortunately, have to be had. But not only that, but we got to surround ourselves with like-minded individuals, so it doesn't feel like everybody that we come across is out to get us.
Right.
Because true enough, there are going to be some people that are going to be, very advantageous, or people who just pursue us just because of who we are and status and all of those things. We call them opportunists, right?
For sure.
But at the same time, there are going to be some people who you genuinely can learn from, who are on your level or who are above your level, that can bring you into the team and say, hey, I see potential in you, and I know you have greatness in you that you haven't even tapped into. And we can really hear them for who they are and not see them for oh, it's something. They got an alter ego. They trying to get up under me for a reason. And a lot of times we think that, right? And that's why a lot of people keep people distant, because we don't want people to get up under us because we feel like they're going to be a threat at some point, right?
Right.
But we have to use our discernment too, and sometimes be able, and this is why they say your network is your net worth. And it's true.
I mean, and this one thing, man, that I want to add to this, because I know people that, like a lot of time we can grow up together in different ways, right? Like I one of my best friends, which is LaCrystal or whatever, you know, and I got other friends too. And even if I'm not that close to a person, if a person growing, like I see your growth, or if I see other people growth, I can always say financially we grew up together. So we can talk about certain things.
Right.
We can appreciate each other. We can say through these certain things, whatever. Now, so I think a lot of people just need to get into that realm to the point where if you see somebody that's growing, especially financially, just become a part of that. Opposed to knocking that or
or having some slick, you know, the
say about
slick,
that or whatever. And just come on with the team or whatever. Now, because we can actually financially grow together.
We can benefit together. And I think we have to get outside of that. And I think we see it a lot of times where a lot of other races don't get along, but they're not putting each other down to a point where they don't want each other to grow.
For sure.
You understand? With us, it's this cultural thing where we're competing. Yeah, we're programmed. We're competing with each other in a place where we should be encouraging other and lifting each other up and showing each other the ropes. However, the person that you get the most free game from, that's willing to teach you, you'll be trying to stab them in the back for what they got. And society makes us think that all of us are like that, when in actuality we're not all like that. We're really not.
We're not.
But the ones that are, as they say, the birds flock together. The birds of a feather flock together. And we see it often where those birds get together and it be real toxic, right? So that kind of make you have a fear of wanting to deal with people. And unfortunately, yes, we're programmed to think that way, but we got to get outside of making us think that we have to compete with each other for everything instead of growing together, because at some point where you may go and excel, you're going to sharpen me at a later time, because there may be areas where I excel that you might not.
Right.
That's what we're here for. That's what we're here to sharpen each other. In the areas where I'm weak, you can make me strong. And then the areas where you're weak, I make you weak, I make you strong.
For sure.
Vice versa. And that's how reciprocation should work. But we oftentimes are looking at what we have or what they have physically, and these are tangible things, because we get so caught up in this little measly stuff like mink coats and different things like that make us look good on the outside, and the people are coveting or envious of the way you look or the way you carry yourself or how much money they think you have, not knowing you deal with the same problems they deal with.
Worse.
Even with money.
Worse.
Right. Even with money. And they don't know it because you carry it well. So I say all that to say that, man, we as a people, I think we just need to get a little bit more together and remember what our parents and our forefathers had to go through to get us to this point where we have the freedom to do what we do. You know what I'm saying? To excel in life.
But I'm going to tell you, because my whole thing is to the point where, and that's my biggest thing, man, we have to remember the past in order for us to know, right? Because this is the thing, we forget that, right? Or not only do we forget that, we're not taught that, or we don't think about that. My biggest thing, man, in the world, I just appreciate, because I remember and I know the slavery. I know the, man, you have to imagine, right, when I first started my company 4 or 5 years ago, this is how fast things change. We used to pay like $7.50 an hour 4 or 5 years ago. You see how fast things change?
Man, wow.
So now,
wow.
So even now, if you make more money, we have to appreciate these things, because this is how far we have come.
Absolutely. Me and my husband just talked
especially
about
as a culture of
wow.
people, right? And so I never want to knock a different culture of people. I don't want to knock the way this is that, whatever. Not, but I always say this, whatever. Now we probably have to scratch this. Cause my whole thing is, man, as far as black people goes or whatever, man, we come in a certain type of way. If you didn't come here the same way that we came, you can't understand us. You ain't come on that boat, can't understand us or whatever. Now, so my whole thing too, we have to we have to know the past, and we have to know the struggles, and we have
I
to
think
know.
we have to know the past, but I think we can't be bound in the past.
No, for
I
sure.
think a lot of people have begun to do this where they put these stereotypes too as well. They put themselves in a category of where they're victimized, right?
Mm-hmm.
We have been released from the shackles that most people think that we have on us, right?
For sure.
Mentally, we still have shackles because we put them there, right?
Right.
And I don't mean or say I'm not even saying we don't have challenges. We have challenges, real challenges. However, we're putting more on ourselves than what we actually have to deal with. And I say all that to say is because society has made us to believe that we have to fit in, we have to look a certain type of way, we got to dress a certain type of way, we got to talk a certain type of way, and a lot of times that means we're actually trying to fit in where we don't belong, right? Or we're trying to do things that we don't have the means to do. So I say that to say we are bounding ourselves by the behaviors and by the things that we do in life. So all of this complexity of it's hard for us as black people. You know, I see that and I hear that. And yes, we face many challenges, but we're not bound to the point of where we're victimized the way that we are saying that we are. We have to work a little bit harder. And yes, we should be at times just to, make up for those areas where, of course, we're struggling in society just to make sure that we prove a point that we're just as good as the other people in society. And yes, that happens often, right? But at the same time, there are no bounds on us starting our own business. There are no bounds on us doing other things. There are no bounds on us deciding that one day we don't want to work for the man anymore or switch jobs. A lot of people think that because they go into work and they working for somebody and that job tell them that they need to do this, they do. It's another job out there waiting for you. Period. And we get so caught up, I got to be here, I got to do this, and I got to do that. And that's what keeps us in a position where we are, because society tells us you need to be on that job for 5 to 10 years, but that's not the case. You can start over again, but at the same time, you still can make wise decisions even in your 40s, even in your 50s. You can start over again. You can recreate yourself again. You can reinvent yourself again as many times as you need to get to where you are or where you need to be.
For sure. I mean, I totally agree. Because even when I was saying that, I wasn't basically saying to the point where we have an excuse for anything, because this is my reasoning for doing what I do. And I tell people all the time, because I just feel like we're programmed to do a certain thing, right? Like I come from a different place. Like my mother passed when I was young. I didn't have the father or anything. So when I moved down here, I seen my cousin them grow with parents and this, that, that. I seen them have these things or whatever. Me, myself, personally, I didn't have those things. So I had to, without having those things, I had to jump into the survival mode, and I had to do what I had to do, right? So for me, I'm programmed to do. I tell people all the time, I'm not doing nothing special. I'm just programmed to do what I have to do. I don't know no other way, right? So when I say to know the past, I know where I come from. I'm not trying to go back there. I'm not trying to rewind that. You dig what I'm talking about? Right. I'm not trying to be. I'm afraid.
So I'm not afraid of much, but it is one thing that I always tell people that I am definitely afraid of.
What's that?
Poverty.
I'm afraid of poverty. I'm afraid to go back. I'm super afraid. This is one of my biggest fears in life is to go backwards, and I don't want to go backwards. So
I tell people all the time that
and that's
I never speak about my fears because I don't want them to overtake me or win. But there are a few things that I am scared of, and I probably am more fearful of poverty than I am death.
On everything, right? Because death is out of here and gone. Poverty is like, man, I gotta live through this shit.
Death is the inevitable, right?
It's an inevitable,
right? And because we know, we know that. But to live in poverty and have experienced that and seen that part of life and having to be there and dwell there,
forget about it.
Oh God,
I'm so afraid of that, right? Like once again, that's one of my most terrifying moments. But so that's why I'll say about past. We have to remember past. In remembering that, I don't want to go back there. Right.
Right.
I just don't want to go back there, whatever. Now, so I'll work my ass off not to go back there.
Right.
See, a lot of people don't experience these certain things or whatever, now, and then they don't even know these certain things. So that's why I said that the past is important to know these things.
Oh, absolutely.
We have to remember, because you have to understand this, right? Like, if we go back to the point where we'll see what slavery looked like, who the fuck would ever want to go back there? Because even for a person that say, fuck it, I don't give a damn about being poor or broke, they can say, okay, that's simple, but you don't want to be that goddamn slave.
What you said.
Right?
That's
So
that's a bondage that.
and listen, now, I wasn't a slave before, nothing like that, whatever. But on the same token, though, for people that haven't been poor, they can look at a poor situation, but they don't know a poor situation.
Right, because they haven't experienced.
You haven't experienced. But if you look at slavery, experience or not, your ass do not want to be a goddamn slave. You know what I'm talking about?
I gotta agree. I gotta.
Yeah. So,
and we always say that could have never been me. Well, what you was gonna do if you was in that situation? You know, we always say, we hear them talking about, man, I ain't none of my daddy, I ain't none of my granddaddy.
Talk that shit.
But
you
man,
want
what
to.
you said? But what if you were put in that situation? You gonna get that tail beat with that rod, or you gonna get shot, or whatever.
And then I think it's so disrespectful to even speak on that.
Yeah, right.
Because I can't speak on that.
Right. That's real. That's real.
I can't
That's
speak
real.
on
That's
it.
real.
Right.
But I really have a admiration for those who grew up in that time and still can actually remember when they had Jim Crow laws in. You know, the older generation that are still here in prison and saw that segregation when they had the water faucets or water fountains in school was whites and the blacks, and it was segregated and all that.
I mean, do you think about those type of things on
man,
your come
you know
on, man,
on
your journey, right?
On my journey, you know, I'm gonna tell you the truth.
I know we off the subject, but
I've
these are
also
shorts.
had times where I'll be like, dog, what was that like to experience that? I never experienced it, but I've heard so many horror stories
For
about
sure.
it to where it just, to me, that's enough to humble me in just hearing about it.
Right.
So I always say to myself, I'm thankful that I didn't grow up in that era.
For sure.
But to keep me or my family from having to revert back to anything remotely similar, this is why I work so hard. This is why I actually invest. This is why I never really had a desire to keep up with the Joneses.
For sure.
Man, it's been times where, man, honestly, we off subject, but it's been times where I've gone to the car lots about to go buy, you know, a $200,000 vehicle, but in my mind I always think about, is this a move that's gonna put you back where you started? Because if you're bound by bills, people don't know that's a form of slavery.
It is.
People don't believe that your actual debt can become slavery if you do not learn how to practice discipline with your money and your time.
Right. I'm gonna keep it a buck, right? Because I always think about this. So for me, I always try to invest, because for me, right? Because we all can make money. Because making money could be the easiest thing ever.
Right.
It's keeping it.
Oh man,
That's the hard part, right?
nobody want to talk about that right there. That's a podcast in itself.
Right.
How do we make money? Not only keep it, but build it.
My biggest thing is, man, to invest more. Right?
Absolutely.
So for me, just like you'll say, and I want to speak on this because I remember I went to I did my taxes one time, and my tax lady, she was like, MJ, why would you buy this car that costs? I think at the time, the car probably cost $60,000.
Right.
But in my brain, I'm like, you do know I make more money than you, right? You know, but on the same token, though, what I try to do is I try to build a business that will take care of that.
Right.
Right. What do they call
Oh,
that?
that's it. You talking about
What's the
passive
they call it?
income.
Passive income.
Yes, sir.
Right. So I try to do something to like, for instance, I'll go buy a machine and say, okay, well, this machine is going to pay for this.
Oh, absolutely. You always been big on investing in your business. That's one thing I can say about you.
For sure. I think that we are. And I'm pretty sure you are.
Man.
As far as you have to be on some shit like, okay, well, cool. So I sold this, that, and the third. Now I can go.
Man,
I can go do
And the truth of the matter is, I have to be quiet because people be watching me, man.
What are
because
you talking about?
because-
listen, most of this shit in this interview is kind of like cut that. Listen, last week we was talking, right?
right.
And it was some shit that came up about some money or whatever. And I'm telling, I'm telling you, I'm like, listen, I can't talk about that shit. He like, you got to talk about. Like, no, I don't. And even when I say that, I'll say I don't want to talk about it now because if we give too much, people don't understand that.
Right.
You feel what I'm saying?
Right.
It's like even within this interview that we having right now, we got to grow with this. So you have to come back again to the point where we got to come back and talk about certain things or whatever.
But it's already in the making because I'm going to tell you something about me, and this is something that I've learned along my journey. Anything that I'm working on in the current, I never discuss it. Why? Because I always execute and then I come back and talk about it later.
Right.
And silent moves, I've learned to keep them to myself.
Right.
Because a lot of times the enemy work off of knowing what your next move is.
You know what I believe?
What?
I believe in prayer, right? But I believe that prayer works in so many ways to the point where it'll work for anybody.
Oh,
right?
absolutely.
I believe if we sit up here and share too much information to the wrong people, they can pray your shit away. No differently than my prayer can come true. Why wouldn't your prayer come true if you're praying about some shit that you want not to happen to me? Because if I didn't tell you about it, you can't pray about it.
That's right.
Right.
That's why I always say the enemy can't attack what he don't know is transpiring.
Ooh, see, that's hard, right? Let's come off the same thing I'm saying, whatever. Not because I'll sit up here and say people will pray your shit away, and people like, well, they can't take away from God. No, but if they're praying to the same God that I'm praying to, and they want their prayers to be answered the same way I want my prayers.
Those is where these hindrances, pitfalls, distractions, they come in your lane to knock you off your path, right? And then there are some people that will be easily distracted and come off that path and they never revert back, right?
Because I could be, it's like my daughter here right now, right? I could say, okay, well, baby, I'm going to do this, that, and third for you. Don't go tell no one.
Right.
She can go tell her sister. Her sister can come back and tell me, well, Daddy,
well,
you did this, that, third. So I can tell her, you know what? Since you did that,
right,
I'm taking that away from you.
That's right. That's right.
And God can do the
same thing. Absolutely.
you
man, this real.
So sometimes you just got to keep them prayers and keep them good things to yourself.
That's as real as it comes right there. That's as real as it comes right there. And a lot of time God tells us to be quiet, to move quietly, to manifest. But he also told us to talk to him. We're supposed to be, our conversations are really, in what we're doing, we're supposed to be manifesting through him, right?
Right.
But because we get to where we start talking about, oh, this is what I'm working on, this is what I'm doing, because we want to be boastful in our spirit, or we want to talk about what we got going on, our next move, so that we can appear to have motion or action to make it feel like, oh, I always got something going on, even if you don't. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I'm on the move. But in a sense, you really, that manifestation hadn't come into fruition. Why? Because you ain't executed it yet.
Right.
Yeah, a lot of times we ain't even asked for permission to execute these plans. It might not even be the right path for us. We just talking or based off of what we think we want to do, right? But that might not even be in God's will for us. We ain't consulted with him.
Right.
We just talking based off of what we want to do and telling these people here who got no intention of wanting to watch us win. So now they done went and told somebody else about your idea. Have you ever noticed how somebody around you start popping up with these ideas that you telling them, somebody else sitting next to them that you know they acquainted with, they done went and told them your idea. Next thing you know, they popping out doing what you talking about you was doing.
I noticed that back in the day, I don't do that shit no more though.
Right. Well, and of course we learned from that, right?
Right.
But we definitely had to go through it to understand it. That's really a thing.
If you see me do something, you like, oh shit, that nigga did that shit. Hell yeah, that shit gone.
Right.
that shit out of here.
Man.
All right. What's the craziest things you've seen during a home showing? Ooh.
Woo.
I know, right?
I saw a husband and wife get into it right in front of my face, like brow, like like right in front of me, and I'm like, oh, we can't do that, y'all. We fuck that. Blah, 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 blah. No way. No way. No way. No way. I'm talking about physically.
That's how me and Pat should have been into it when she was looking at that fucking house like that. I ain't gonna hold you. I ain't bullshit. Look, listen.
They got the house. They got.
Me and her, we looked at this house about 4 times. She even to the point where like, I'm tired of this nigga looking at this fucking house, right?
You want to see the house again?
this what she on. So back she comes to the house. And
You sure?
Yeah, she comes to the house and she's looking like, I don't know. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? And then we try to downgrade. But anyway.
But yeah, that's the strange
Somebody got
thing.
into
Definitely,
it,
no,
yeah.
they was jacking in the house. I'm talking about physical contact. It was something. Man, whew, my God.
Yeah, that's hard.
Yeah, and two, you know, a lot of things that come out personally inside of a real estate transaction between spouses that you never knew could possibly exist, because there's a lot of transparency during that time because you're dealing with a lot of sensitive information, right? So you
Right.
do find out a lot
Ooh,
about
Lord
your
have
spouse,
mercy.
especially about income, sometimes even about their credit, you know, things that you people have judgments and liens on them that their spouse never knew, you know, anything could come up, you know, that honestly you just never expected to happen. And then this is where you see whether that relationship was strong enough to withstand that time frame. So I've seen a lot.
And that's crazy. And that's a jewel too that she just dropped. Man, you have to disclose so
Yes,
much information.
yes.
And I'm gonna tell you this, man, even as me as a private person, man, this is the most information I've ever had to give up in my
Ooh.
life. They're talking to me. I don't want to talk about nothing. And I got to talk about so much,
Yes.
tell so much, disclose so
Yes.
much. So,
Yes,
so that's another thing too. That's very important thing that people should know for sure.
absolutely.
What's the fastest you've ever sold a home?
The fastest I ever sold a home was 18 days.
18 days.
18 days.
How the fuck was that possible?
Honestly, I had a lender, and that lender was telling me, look, I got my processor and I got my underwriter waiting. All I need is for you to go ahead and wrap everything up. Client had already turned the documents in. Remember, most of my clients get approved. They're going through the underwriting process on the
Right.
front end. So that kind of makes it a little bit easier. Plus, we were on a tight deadline to get the deal closed. And then, two, we were in the Christmas season. So I had negotiated a fabulous deal. But the only way that I could get the deal is if we closed before the end of the year was out, because this builder wanted those numbers to be inclusive in that year's annual goal or whatever the marker
Right.
is that they're trying to make for the year for their quota. But that deal had to close before December 31st.
So it wasn't a cash home.
No,
That's hard.
this was an actual lender finance deal.
In 18 days.
18 days.
Man.
18 days.
Oh, that's hard. Shit, that my niggas out close that motherfucking 15 days.
18
I
days.
want 15 days of
Typically,
stress. I
they
don't
tell
want
you
90.
21 days is supposed to be, and there's supposed to be some regulations behind that, but 21 days is supposed to be the fastest they can be able to close. But this was 18 days. One of those kind of exceptions to the rule where everybody was working overtime just to get it done. A lot of calling, I need this right now. I need this right now. I need them to sign this right now. I need this to happen right now. It was a lot of push on this deal too. A
Oh,
lot
that's
of-
hard. I mean, that's hard to even know that that's possible.
Yeah,
For sure.
definitely.
Okay. So have you? This is a 2-part. Have you ever sold a house to a celebrity, and if not, who would you want to sell a house to a celebrity to, and why?
I'm gonna be honest with you. I put in Glorilla when I first got him. I put in Glorilla inbox that I wanted to sell. So at the time I was living in Memphis, and Glorilla had just jumped on that plane with Yo Gotti. And in my mind, I said, man, if I can get in this girl inbox and go ahead and petition her, I know her credit need to be right, because everybody from Memphis dealing with jacked up credit. So in my mind, I already said, man, I'm going to fix that girl credit and put her in the house. But most times when they get their bag like that, they don't even need credit no more, because
Right.
they can put down whatever they need to put down to secure the house, right? Or they just pay for it cash and negotiate a fair deal. But I was saying in my mind, her daddy and her mama live in Memphis, man. If I can get in her inbox, the house that she buy, If she buying in Memphis, she can buy with me. She buy a mama and daddy house, she can buy with me. She didn't. She went with another young lady, Shannon Shaw. But at the same time, I was petitioning her. I wanted to sell her that house. And I just knew if I could get Glorilla, my name was going to blow up. My name was going to blow up. But I always said, it's going to be to a point where you can't even mention real estate without mentioning my name. Now in Mississippi, I'm already getting there. But
sure.
Tennessee, I got a little bit more work to do, and it's going to come. But I promise you, it's going to be to where you know when they say Latonya McGowen, that's that girl for real estate, and she really loves what she does. That's going to be how they remember me. Not that she's a money-making, hustling, none of that. I ain't going to be remembered by that. I'm going to be remembered by that's the girl that really cares about what she does and who she services, and she services with a spirit of excellence.
Man, I'm gonna say this though, right? I ain't gonna hold you. Like, that's hard. Like, that's a hard ass story. For you to try to think that shit over, I ain't gonna hold you. You look like a different person sitting here with this red motherfucker. That's a hell of a short right there. Hey, that's hard in the motherfucker. Hey, that's hard for you to think about that shit. That's crazy. I love that.
This is when I tell you,
man, that's
great.
crazy.
When I could probably pull up the inboxes, and I never forget.
I want to see him. I ain't gonna hold you.
I never forget. She put in her bio. Now you got to contact her agent, right? She got to. When I inboxed her, she didn't even have no agent. She was still look Glorilla with. I mean,
I remember she did a showdown, and before she blew up, she did a showdown in Jackson. Not Jackson. Yeah, Jackson. It was Humboldt. She did the show in or whatever. And I remember my cousin was down there like, yeah, it's a girl over there doing this, that, and third, fuck nigga free, whatever. Now I ain't give a fuck about none of that shit. You know what I mean? And it was crazy. And I remember that was like a couple of years ago. You know, so for you to predict that and try to go after that or whatever, now that's powerful for sure.
Absolutely.
I
try to get her when them girls had jumped on that plane with Gotti, and I seen her. I said, oh yeah, she's straight from Memphis. She from the Haven over there. If I can get this girl, man, that's gonna set my career off right. Yeah. Man, I just knew I knew it was gonna give me a testimony to fly me on where I need to be, because right now I deal with a lot of middle class people, but I wanted to get into the high end or the upper echelon, right? And I always knew that it's gonna take a triggering or a transaction that was beyond belief in order to put me where I needed to be, in order for people to see me outside of the scope of dealing with the average client or the average person, right?
And you know, and that's a crazy thing, whatever, because like even for people that do video or do certain things, everyone look for that. And I never even thought about that in real estate, right? And I'm pretty sure it's a big thing, because you have to imagine if you do video or if you do these certain things, you want to serve these certain type of people or whatever.
Right.
To get you to that point. So I think that was big for you to think about that at that certain point in time, for sure.
Absolutely. And that was more of foresight. It was just me saying, this is where I am now, but this is where I see my career in 2 years once Glow, because I knew she was finna, when she jumped on that PJ with Gotti, I said, oh, she finna blow. She finna blow. This her break right here. Right. If I can get her at the cusp of her going into fame, and she could recognize me there, man. But again, you know,
it's hard.
Wishful thinking, but it's gonna happen. Yeah, just remember on this podcast, I told you. You ain't gonna be able to mention real estate without mentioning my name.
Yep. For sure. I'm gonna bring you right back. As soon as you make that big deal, bring your ass right back.
It's coming.
For sure. What's the hardest part of being an agent that people don't know about?
The hardest part about being an agent is learning to accommodate every different personality. And that to me is more of the challenge for me as a person, because I'm used to dealing with different types of people just from being in the warehouse environment, but having to deal with their personal issues. A lot of times in real estate, people want you to become their lawyer, their financial advisor, their personal shrink, their best friend, all of the above.
I'm gonna tell you something crazy.
And I've even had some petition me for a little ass, but you know.
Hey, listen, you know what's so crazy, because I'm gonna say, I'm finna say, I want you to be all those except the ladder. Real talk though, right? I'm calling you like
absolutely. Seriously.
We're having conversations
Seriously.
like, and I'm worried, right?
Seriously.
So I need you to be all of that for me. You dig what I'm saying? And I appreciate that. You was all of that for me.
You're
for
welcome.
Sure,
You're
whatever,
welcome.
but,
You're welcome. You're
you know,
welcome.
once again, accept the ladder. We could even scratch that part. Yeah, but on the same token, man, you was stupid, very helpful because you know how stressed that I was. About
Absolutely,
that,
absolutely. And being able to recognize that too when your client is just overwhelmed and being able to be patient with them and help talk them off of a latch. Because I will say this, there are a lot of times when the realtor has to execute having faith even when the client doesn't have any more.
I want to give up. I was like, fuck that. I don't want to do this
seriously.
shit no more.
Man, I can't tell you how many times I've had people on the cusp of just saying,
I'm like,
F
man,
it.
you know what? I don't want to do this shit. No, fuck 'em. I'm done with this shit. Because I had to go through so much this, that, and third, but you did walk me through, and you like, man, don't worry about it. Everything gonna be cool.
Yeah,
And I'm like, I don't know, man.
Oh,
I'm
what I
tired of
tell
this
you
shit.
about Tim? Didn't I tell you Tim got you?
Oh yeah, for sure. So when I got on the phone with Tim or whatever, it made it way more smoother. They still call me to this day. You know, like, hey, we can get this down. Like, leave me the fuck alone for a minute. Give me a year or two. You know what
Seriously.
I mean?
Seriously.
So I just got 4 more questions. They just some rapid questions too, or
Okay.
whatever.
Okay.
And we can wrap this up. And honestly, we already wrapped it up. So even when
Okay.
we ask you the question, I can ask you these questions. We can jump up and get the fuck up out of here because they already wrapped it up.
All right.
Okay, so he gonna cut this shit anyway. Okay, so with this or whatever, this is buyer or seller. You can pick this instantly. Who negotiate harder, buyer or seller?
Most times buyer.
Buyer.
Yeah. Most time buyer's agent. Because they're pushing. The seller's agent is pulling. And then you get a pushback from the buyer. Because at the end of the day, you can't have a sale without the buyer.
Right.
And the sellers know that. So they're going to have to come to terms with what the buyer wants. Because ultimately, people don't want to admit it. We can be in the seller's market, but the buyer still is in charge because without the buyer, you don't have a deal. And until people recognize that, then they'll realize how much the buyer's agent means inside of the transaction. Because without them, you don't have a deal, right?
Right. Yeah, so, I mean, that makes sense to me because, you know, I mean, I'm not a real estate agent, but, you know, as far as me owning businesses and having to negotiate
Absolutely.
leases, you know, I tell people all the time, like, man, we have to negotiate these leases.
We have to. We
Because
have
if
to.
these buildings just sitting up or whatever,
Absolutely.
they have to
Guess
rent
what?
these things out.
Guess what?
Right?
If-
So let's get
if
some
a seller's
free,
house
let's get some time.
is sitting up and they done relocated to another house, and in a month, they got another mortgage plus the mortgage that they just left. Imagine having 2 mortgages in 1 month and you need to sell the house that's vacant now, and now you got a buyer, but the buyer is asking for a little bit more than what you really want to give.
Right.
However, you got plenty of equity to give in your house, but you just don't want to budge. Imagine having to pay another month of mortgage simply because you didn't want to meet that buyer in the middle.
Right.
Imagine how stupid you look.
So that goes back to what we were talking about earlier as far as older
Give and
home or
take.
newer home.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Right? Because even with the older home, it's kind of like we probably can move a little bit better because
Absolutely.
with the newer home, there's nothing going on.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
With the older home, it's like there's some things going on.
No
that-
shaking and baking. You don't.
Right.
You have very little room with the newer home because remember, this is a new construction. So most times the builder has a plethora of people that he got to pay plus the bank because he probably got a construction loan
Right.
on the house that he's building, right? So which means he got to have, I mean, let's think about overhead. He got to have some type of money coming in there from off this deal. He's not going to be upside down on transactions. So you really ain't got much room to move off so he can pay everybody that he has and still make some money, right? But in an older home, you just got the seller. You got all the equity they have in the house. And then you have you who's trying to buy it and you're trying to negotiate a fair deal.
See, that will take me back again that I want to go ahead and get it into it with the old lady because we should have got the we need to get into it on the show right now. Get our ass in.
Right. And you walk into your home, like when I negotiated on my house, I had all the capacity in the world. I mean, I got approved for 550. Did I go with a 550 house? Heck, no. And I could afford that off one income. But
Right.
did I want it? No, I don't want that bill. I don't want that bill. Not only that, but I want to target a house that I could go into, I could recreate or build on it or add to it, which is what I did.
Right.
I just renovated it, did what I wanted to do to make it feel like my home versus
hating on
whoever.
you. I'm hating on you.
You hear me? So at the same time, guess what happened? I walked into my home already established equity because of the negotiation that I utilized inside of the terms of my contract.
that's hard.
Not only that, they paid my commission and I got them to pay my closing costs and buy my interest rate down.
That's hard.
And so as a realtor, these are tools that we use to negotiate so that we go into a home that is, again, more beneficial for us long term.
Right.
I stepped in the home. I already got equity. I added to the house by renovating and remodeling so that I'm adding more equity to the home based off of upgrades and different things like that. And I'm in a no HOA community, right? So when you get in a community like this, which is, obviously a HOA, we got now people who don't even want to be in those types of communities. So you already cut off a certain type of people who don't want to be in the HOA because they want to be in a community that's not governed.
I ain't gonna hold you, man. I don't be giving a fuck.
I know that woman already told me you don't, man. They said you make your own rules.
I'm gonna keep it a buck though. It's not like that or whatever now, but it's just to the point where I ain't gonna say I don't give a fuck, but it's just kind of like, man, kiss my ass. I'm buying this goddamn house. Listen, man, we got to fight about it. I'm just.
All right, next question, bro, because I already know we about to go off the map with that.
Yeah. This is a question that I'm gonna ask, and to me personally, I have an answer for this, but and I'm pretty sure you got the same answer. Who is more stressed, buyer or seller?
Who is more stressed?
Stressed. Who be more stressed out, the buyer or the seller?
The seller.
Why you say that? The seller? You think the seller would be more stressed than the buyer?
Yes.
We gonna fight about that one then, because I was stressed like a motherfucker. And I was the goddamn buyer.
You were stressed, but in your case, you bought new construction. Now, you're a buyer and the seller's agent or the seller who's representing, the seller's agent who's representing the seller has to now go back to the seller and state all of these demands, right? Mm-hmm. So now imagine if the seller is asking you to fix 30 things before the closing, and you got to figure out how you gonna get that done.
You know what? That's hard.
Two, the seller's also stressed because they have to make sure in most cases that the buyer can securely close on that home without any issues in order for them to go to the next house. Cool. So that means there are two parts running on that transaction. If the buyer does not fulfill his end of the bargain, we go nowhere. Right. And imagine if every week that they're late on their contract because they're locked into a contract too on where they got to go, right? And then also the stress of where are you going to go, because in most cases when you sell in the house, you got to have a contract on your house before you go looking for a house. In most cases, that's what a knowledgeable agent will tell you. Make sure you got a contract on your house before you lock in on somewhere else, because without that, it kind of look flimsy, right? And so I say it's definitely going to be the seller because the seller has more to worry about than the actual buyer. And most people don't know the scope of that because they just think the buyer, most cases, doesn't have any contingency. In most cases, the buyer doesn't have any. So that means they can walk into the house free and clear and not have to worry about anything other than just getting past the lender. That's the simple part. Right. You're going to do that anyway. But with the seller, I got to figure out where to go. I got to do repairs on this house. I got to make sure this deal is terms that is going to work for me in order to obtain enough money to go to my next spot. Because if I don't get enough money out of the sale of my home, then I can't even go anywhere. Right. You understand what I'm saying? So I think definitely it's going to be the seller.
I feel that though, because if I'm negotiating and I'm buying from a person, like you said, if it's a older home and I'm buying from this person, it's kind of like, y'all got to do what the fuck I want y'all to do.
That's right.
I ain't fucking with
that's
you.
Right. I ain't messing with it. Right. Because this got to benefit me totally.
No. That make a lot of sense. So I can see that to the point where I'm selling the home and then you constantly coming back to me and I'm like, God, right. Damn, this motherfucker.
So from your perspective, it's always going to be biased because you see it from a one perspective side. But if you're a realtor, you get a chance to see it from a multifaceted side.
No, I get it though, right? Since you explained it like that, I mean, I totally understand it. Next question. This interesting. Who calls you more, buyer or seller?
Buyer.
And then look,
Marvin.
I know, right? And then listen, you see the look on her face, like, you nigga, what are you talking about? I'm gonna
The
take
buyer,
that.
man, the
I'ma
buyer,
take that.
man,
I did.
listen.
I
The
did.
buyer will call you all day and all night. Seller, they waiting on you to call them and be informative on what's going on, et cetera, et cetera. But the buyer, man, those buyers are
But once
aggressive.
again, you was like, you got to be their shrink. You was my shrink. What are you talking about?
I'm telling
You
you.
had to convince me. You had to calm me
telling you.
down. Talk
For
to
sure.
me. I'm
For
calling you like, man,
So
And
that's
Jay,
the
look,
many that's
this
the
is
many
this and
roles
that is
we
that.
play as realtors. And I tell people when they think, y'all making all this money, I ain't doing nothing, blah, blah, blah. Man, if you know what come with it, man, I've seen days where my blood pressure been up just off of listening to a buyer. It's to a point where I have to kind of cut the conversations off or say what I'm going to say, stand on what I'm going to say, and then leave it at that, because there are often times where buyers need reassurance.
I needed that all the time.
Oh yeah, definitely. But I've had clients 3 and 4 times worse than you. So
You know what? I can imagine it because I need that reinsurance with the bread. Like, I had the money to pay, but I still need that reinsurance. And that's the crazy part. And I tell people this to this day or whatever now, man. I always say this, right? Like, I even told Pete that's over there, he in the audience or whatever, and I tell him all the time, whatever, and I got a couple of dollars and I'll be doing shit. He gonna tell you one time, like, I don't got no dollars and I want to do everything. This is what he told, which was the stupidest shit. But no, I say that to say to the point where I'm not saying I'm rich enough, whatever, not. But on the same token, though, I understand how hard it is to, even if you got a couple of dollars,
Right,
You dig what I'm
right,
talking about?
right.
It's hard, and I look at these things and I view these things and I just be trying to tell people like, man, we gotta get this together because it's hard out here. You know what I mean? So
yeah, definitely got to get together. What's the last
the
question?
last question. This is simple. The last question: who listens to advice more? And I'm pretty sure I kind of could get the answer to this because of the last question you just answered: the buyer or the seller.
Seller.
For sure. I can imagine it.
Yeah. Seller's more inclined to follow the instructions of a realtor because they got a lot on the line. 2, they're looking for you to be the actual instructor in the deal or the teacher in the deal, and they're following your lead. And the buyer, in most cases, a lot of these people come in, they done had a lot of information that was misconstrued from other people, or they've been self-teaching themselves, and you'll hear a lot of what they think that they know. And a lot of times, some of them are doing research, but unfortunately, they be loud and wrong.
Right.
But with sellers, they're more inclined to just hear you out, understand what you're saying, make it make sense. And 2, they got a lot to lose.
Right.
With the buyers, if it don't go right, they just hire another realtor, boom, boom, boom. But with the sellers, they looking for somewhere to go. And a lot of times they already locked in the contract. So they more inclined to hear what you're saying. They want to listen. If it makes sense, we going to roll with it. And let's execute, because we ain't got time to play with it. They got a goal in mind.
Right.
Yeah, your buyers, they're going to be a little bit more passive and, well, I want this. I want to take my time. Some going to be eager, but for the most part, your sellers are going to be more,
More of
a
a
little bit
listener.
more adherent. Yeah.
For sure. But I'm gonna say this though. I mean, for me, and I understand that answer for sure. But for me, I was way more of a listener
Yeah,
to
sure,
you because
sure,
of the person
sure.
that you are. Because I'm gonna keep it a buck.
I
with you.
appreciate that. I appreciate
Listen,
that.
I'm not gonna tell you no lie, man. If it wasn't for you, I'd been like, man, fuck that house shit. I'm going to get me a goddamn condo. I can pay for this shit for 5
But
years.
you almost had said it one time. You
Yeah.
you literally like, man, really, this is just too much. I don't even see why I take all of this. So I can't just do this. No, you can't just do this.
Yeah,
It
right.
just-
Because I was like, fuck this. I just want to
Yeah,
do this. I just want to,
yeah.
we don't get into that. Or whatever.
I'm glad you saw it through though, because at the end, I definitely saw that. I saw that sense of, man, that I accomplished this. I did that. You know what I mean? And then at the same time, you were so you actually bought the lender a bottle of liquor. And
No, for sure. Because I mean, honestly, because I'm telling y'all, because I just want. I mean, what really put me to you for sure, right? If it weren't for you, man, I'm like fuck that shit. But I know
sure.
you.
For sure.
You made me feel comfortable. You know
For
what I
sure.
mean? You walked me through the steps.
right.
You
And
went over
I
and
didn't
beyond,
judge
for
the
sure.
fact that your stuff wasn't together at the time.
Of course
but we talked about it, and man, I think the thing that I enjoyed the most, you were very receptive of what I had to say. And not only that, you wasn't combative. You asked questions if you had questions, but if not, man, you like, all right, let's go and get this shit done. That's how you was. I mean, it was that nonchalant. All right, I'm gonna get it done.
Because I just felt like it was a team thing, though. And you
Yeah.
made me feel like that. Like we a fucking team. We finna make
For
this
sure.
shit happen. Right,
sure,
and not only
for
just we
sure.
making it happen, especially for the old lady, right? Because
sure,
me,
for
'cause
sure.
she was like, "Nope,
For
I
sure.
want this," and I'm like,
For
"Okay,
sure.
well, you know what? Fuck it."
Yep.
They like,
And
you
I
gotta
think
do this. I'm like,
it
"Fuck it."
came
I'm
down
gonna
to
do
that point where you could really see inside the transaction. You made it more about your family and different things that you
Oh yeah,
needed
for sure.
in order to make it happen. But not only that, but man, you made it happen and you went above and beyond, man. Within, man, it wasn't even a month good, and I was like, you did all of this, man.
Cause it was so crazy because y'all had me
Man.
on hold. Y'all was like, "Don't buy this."
Oh yeah, because
And that's another thing
hey,
too that you want to tell people.
Man was extra eager to go out there the day before and want to buy this. Can I go out and do this? No,
It was like a
man,
nope, you can't buy this, you can't do this.
down.
As soon as y'all said, "Okay, it's a go,"
And so he was looking at, well, I done freed all my debt. I done paid these cars off. I done paid this off. I can't go run up a bag here or there. It was like, no, wait. You have to close and fund, and then
and
after
that's
that,
important.
yeah, closing and funding is definitely going to be important because they are going to be monitoring
I promise
your
you.
transactions. They're going to be monitoring through the bank. They're going to be making sure that you're not running your credit for any new inquiries or any new lines of credit. All of that will be highly scrutinized during the entire transaction, all the way up into the closing of the transaction. And I always say, make sure it funds before you do anything. So there's a difference between funding and closing. Closing, you're signing paperwork, but funding is the actual paying of all the parties and them receiving the funds that have to be delegated in order for that transaction to be finalized. And a lot of people get that part mixed up because that has to transpire before the deal is fully executed. So as long as everyone knows that there are logistics behind real estate, and a lot of people think it's just, oh, they selling houses and making money and just making it look cute. Man, y'all stressing us the hell out, but we just making it look good, and we love what we do. For those agents that love what they do, man, shots out to y'all, man. We making it happen.
Hey,
but
shout out to you, man.
I appreciate
So,
it.
Latonya, thank you so very much for joining us today. Stateline Road Podcast. Boy, you have dropped some jewels on our viewers today. Is there anything else that you might? No shameless plug. Is there anything you have going on that you would drive people to? Is there a website you want to give them? A social media handle? Because there's some more people that you can help on a more intimate level.
Absolutely. Well, I do most of my any marketing or advertising you'll see will be on Facebook, and that's Latonya McGowen Takpena. You'll see me there, in Miss CEO Real Estate for Instagram. I'm also on TikTok as Latonya McGowen, but for the most part, I'm most active on Facebook, and you'll see there where I'm dropping gems on a daily basis, giving back jewels, and I'm doing lives as well to make sure I stay active with the people that are on my Facebook.
Latonya McGowen, everybody. Give her a big hand. Thank you so much for coming through.